WebDriver. Selenium WebDriver is one of the component in Selenium, which is very useful, which we can interact through the browsers by using an extensive code. So as a part of this, we will discuss this right now. What is the Selenium WebDriver? Selenium WebDriver is a tool used for automating web applications. It is used for functional testing of UI applications. See, every web application or web application architecture has three components. One is UI, API, which we will discuss in a while, as well as database. But Selenium WebDriver is specifically a tool used for functional testing of an UI applications. So when I say UI, it is nothing but GUI. So UI or GUI, user interface or graphical user interface, nothing but the layout which you see or the client which interact with is nothing but UI layer. So Selenium WebDriver is specifically for UI applications testing, that too not for non-functional testing. It is only for functional testing. So Selenium WebDriver is a module. When I say module is a collection of functions and classes. So there are different type of functions which I will be going to use, and there are classes as well for automating an web application. There are a lot of components in the web application. You need to interact with them. You need to perform some actions on those elements, right? And thereafter, you need to get some input. You need to count. There are a lot of things which you are going to do as a part of automation of a web application or automating a web application. So for automating, you will need to use a lot of functions and classes. So these are included or packaged as a collection of module. So Selenium WebDriver is a module which is a collection of functions and classes. So there are a lot of classes available in the Selenium WebDriver. Suppose if I want to run my test case or automation script on Chrome browser, I have Chrome class. So this Chrome class is already included in the module. Similarly, if I want to run my test cases or test scripts on Firefox browser, I have Firefox class. If I want to run my test script or test case on Edge browser, I have Edge class. So these are different classes, and apart from the classes, we are also having different type of functions which we will discuss in the next classes. So all these are included in the Selenium WebDriver module. When you install the Selenium WebDriver, you will get all these Chrome class, Firefox class, as well as Edge class, and as well as different functions, how you will open the URL, how you will get the current page source, all the things you will be going to use are included in this Selenium WebDriver module. Just you need to install this particular module in order to use these functions and classes. So this is one important point. Selenium WebDriver is a module, and the other important point is Selenium WebDriver is an API. WebDriver is an API. So when I say API, it is the middle layer. And we will discuss the how nowadays every web application or a service looks like. Every web application or a service have three type of layers. So in that, one of the layer is API. So what does the API does? It is having some business logic. With the help of this logic, we will do our needed work. Similarly, in the same way, WebDriver here acts as the API. So that is the reason why I have said Webdriver is an API. So API is a middle layer. So its full form is Application Programming Interface. So you will not be able to understand this. Let me make you understand with one diagram so that you'll get understand with this. So every web application nowadays has client server architecture. Every web application, let me note that point. Every web application has 3 layers in the client server architecture. See, client server means, so there will be client which he will interact through GUI, and GUI, from the GUI he will give the request. That request is sent to the database layer through this API, and you will get the response, and this is nothing but a client server architecture. So in high level, what I am saying, so every web application nowadays has client server architecture. In the client server architecture, you will have 3 layers. Why I am saying this? Because Webdriver acts as an API. So before going to understand how this Webdriver acts as an API, let us try to understand how the web application has the API, which is one of the layer, and how it behaves. If you see, there are 3 layers: GUI layer or UI layer. This is the layer which you see. Suppose if you take Amazon website. So this is the layer. This is the GUI layer, graphical user interface, or UI interface, user interface. So user will be able to interact with this. So that is the reason why we are calling this is as user interface. This is the user interface. So this is one layer. This is one layer. And there is another layer, application or web server. This is nothing but API layer. API layer. So when I say API layer, API, application programming interface. Application programming interface. So in this particular layer, you will write the business logic. Very important. In this particular layer, you will write the business logic. Business logic means, so for this input, you just get that output, send that output. That's it. Simply, in a high level, what I'm trying to make you understand, this is the overall jargon, like the architecture. Presentation layer, application or web server, or API layer, simply you can call this, which contains the business logic, and the database, nothing but the backend layer. So when I say database, all the data is stored in the database. All the data is stored in the database. And every layer is associated with testing. If you see GUI or UI layer, for this also you will have testing. For API also, API layer also, you will have API testing. For database level also, you will have database testing. UI testing, API testing, database testing. For UI testing, you will use Selenium, right? There are a lot many tools, but I am only just for to make you understand in the high level, I am trying to say, for the presentation layer or UI layer, we have Selenium Webdriver as a tool for automating test script on the UI level. For the API level, you will have request module in the Python. Since we are discussing in general with Python, in specific to Python, so I am trying to say with respect to Python, like request module. So if you take Java, you will have REST assured for API testing. And coming to database, you will have their ICDC tools for database testing as well. You can do it every testing, GUI, API or database can be done by using manually or by using automation. So right now we are discussing in the presentation layer only. We'll stick to this discussion only. So by using Selenium, we will be able to automate GUI, not API, not database. Another important point, what the API does. What the API does. Before going to this, let me make you understand with this one important point. Every layer has functional testing as well as non-functional testing. So if you see, there are 3 layers: GUI or UI, API as well as database. For all these layers, you will have functional testing as well as non-functional testing. So non-functional testing and functional testing. So functional testing, this itself says, that name itself specifies functional. So you will only test specific functionality or any functionality which is there in this particular website. This is regarding the functional testing. And coming to non-functional testing, there are different types of non-functional testing. As a part of that, you will do performance testing, security testing, right? Stress testing, volume testing. So these are all comes under non-functional testing. Coming to functional testing, you will only test specific functionality of the application. As a part of that, you will have different types like smoke, as well as sanity, as well as regression. These are different types of functional testings. Coming to non-functional testing, you will have performance testing, load testing, right? Stress testing, as well as security testing, so etc. These are all comes under non-functional testing. So what I am trying to say, every layer is followed by two types of testing. One is functional testing as well as non-functional testing. And another important point, what is the use of API? What is the use of API? So API, if you see, it acts as a middle layer between UI as well as database. So it should consist of some logic, nothing but business logic. So in general, what the API does is, API get the request from the user. So he is the user, I am the user, I am just interacting with the application, I am just giving some request through this UI layer. What this API does, API receives the request from the UI layer and sends the same request to the database. So what the database does, database and processing the data based on our request, it sends the response. It sends the response, and the same response is sent to the GUI layer, and that is the response what you are going to see here based on your request, specific to the request. So API gets the request from the user and sends the same request to the database layer and process the data, and whatever the response we get from the database layer, the same response will be provided to the presentation layer. This is what the API does. This is what the API does in general. So when we are discussing a web application, every web application has a 3-level architecture: GUI, API, database. So this is what the API does. Gets the request from the user, sends the request to the database, gets the response from the database. The same response will be sent to the UI layer, and that is the response what you are seeing in the UI, specific to our request. So API doing the same. Similarly, what I am saying, Webdriver, Selenium Webdriver is also an API. Is also an API. So if you observe this particular picture, you will get to know. So actually you will write an automation code by using any IDE like PyCharm or Visual Studio Code or Eclipse when we say about Java. So you will write the automation code, but this automation code does not directly talk to the browser. Like if I say Chrome browser or Edge browser or Firefox browser, this automation code does not directly talk to the browser, because if I want to talk, I should understand what you are saying. If I am unable to understand, then I will not be able to respond. In the similar way, the automation code which you write here will not be able to understand by the browser. So simply you can say, for making the browser to understand, I am just using the WebDriver as a middle layer, as like API, as like API here. So automation code does not directly talk to the browser, and internally we require another layer. What is that layer? WebDriver. So this WebDriver is responsible for converting this automation code to the code which is able to understand by the browser. So in this way, WebDriver, if you see, acts as an API. So here also in the client server architecture, it is the middle layer, it is also the middle layer. You can try to compare like this. So WebDriver is useful for making the automation code to interact with the browser. Because automation code does not directly talk to the browser. Internally it requires another layer. So that is nothing but WebDriver. And if you see, there are versions of WebDriver, Selenium WebDriver. Right now in the current market, if you see here, Selenium WebDriver. Go to this particular website. Right now in the market, current version is 4.0. I mean, version 4 is present in the market. Before that, we have version 3. Before that, we have version 6. Let me show you this particular image so that you can understand. Previously, we have version 3. We have version 3. Why? The protocol in the version 3 has been changed in the version 4. Before going to discuss, let me make you understand with this diagram what this diagram depicts. If you see, you will write your automation code. This is the automation code. This is the automation code in the client library. So whatever the Selenium gives support, if you see, go to this documentation about history of Selenium documentation. So if you see, Selenium has some client library. So client library means by using that language, you can write automation code. If you see, you will have Java, Python, and you can also write the automation code with C#, Ruby, JavaScript, as well as Kotlin. So these are different types of Selenium client libraries. By using these client libraries, you will write automation code. You will write automation code. But as we discussed, this automation code will be not able to communicate directly with the browser. Internally, you need WebDriver. Internally, you need WebDriver. So WebDriver has the drivers. WebDriver has the drivers to make this automation code able to understand by the browser. So for this, if you see in the Selenium 3 or the previous version to the current version, so in the previous version, you will have client library between the automation code and between the Selenium WebDriver, you will have JSON wire protocol. This is the protocol, nothing but used for communication. See, the automation code also communicates with the WebDriver. So that communication is happening in the JSON protocol. This is one of the protocol. So, and thereafter, what the Selenium WebDriver does, the Selenium WebDriver communicates with the browser with the help of W3C protocol. This is another protocol. This is another protocol. So here, two types of conversions are happening. One is JSON wire protocol and W3C protocol. Between client library and the Selenium WebDriver, you have JSON wire protocol. And between Selenium WebDriver, when I say Selenium, it is nothing but a WebDriver. But WebDriver and between the browser, you will have again W3C protocol. So here you need to convert, or simply you can understand in this way. You need to spend the time to convert from one protocol to another protocol, which is a performance issue. So for converting, you need some time. You need to spend some time. So because of that, performance is one issue, as well as stability also. Stability also is the another issue. So that is the reason the JSON wire protocol, which is there in the Selenium 3, is updated to W3C protocol only. If you see this particular diagram, you will get to know what is the difference between that. If you see in the Selenium 4, the communication or the protocol between the client library and the WebDrivers is W3C. In the Selenium 3, JSON wire protocol. So in the current version, the protocol has been changed. Because of that, there are some advantages. What are the advantages? So if you see, the advantages are due to communication with the browser. Communication with the browser. Let me write this point. See, why this conversion and how it helps for me. This helped in better communication. Because you have avoided the conversion. If you avoided the conversion, you are directly talking to me instead of a translator. So you know one common language, I know one common language. I don't need any translator. A translator can misunderstand you. There may be a chance, but if you know the language which I am knowing, then you can talk to me directly. So that is the reason this conversion from JSON wire protocol to W3C has made a better communication with the browsers, as well as stability also increased. There may be a chance when you are converting from JSON wire protocol to W3C, there may be a chance some data is missing. Because of that, some instability also occurs. So that also avoided here in the Selenium 4 version. And between the client library, browser drivers, nothing but Selenium WebDriver, and between the browsers, you will have only one protocol, a single protocol, nothing but W3C protocol. And there is no browser specific code is also required. So common code. You can use the common code and you can work with multiple browsers. Before that, it was not the case. So these are the advantages of Selenium 4 with respect to Selenium 3. So in summary, if you see, these are the things which are different from Selenium 3 as well as Selenium 4. If you see, in Selenium 3, between Selenium client library, or I can also say Selenium language bindings. Client library or language bindings, both are same. Between Selenium language bindings or Selenium client library, and between the browser drivers, you have JSON wire protocol. And between the browser drivers and between the browsers, you have W3C protocol. But in the Selenium 4, from Selenium 4 onwards, the JSON wire protocol has been replaced with W3C protocol. Between language bindings, between browser drivers, between different browsers. Then, what is a W3C? What is a W3C? A W3C is a World Wide Web Consortium. W3C is a World Wide Web Consortium. It is an international community, so that develops or defines web standards. So when you design a web application, if it is to be used internationally without any lagging or disturbance, you need to have some protocol. So that protocol is defined by this W3C, World Wide Web Consortium. So it is an agency, or you can say it's a community, defines web standards. So now the Selenium community also has been adopting this or adapted to this W3C protocol. It is a consortium. Consortium means a group of people or group of expert people, right? They develop web standards. So in the same way, Selenium also implemented W3C in its WebDriver. Up to now, this is the introduction which you need to be known for working with Selenium WebDriver. Simply a tool for automating web applications, Selenium WebDriver, useful for functional testing of GUI applications. It is a module. It is also an API. And similarly, now in the market, we are having Selenium 4. Before, recently we are having Selenium 3. This is what we required after now. And coming to setup and installations, in order to work with automation code, you need to have some setups in your local. So what are those setups? You already have Python. If you don't have, go to this particular website, download that executable file and install Python. Similarly, PyCharm also you need to install. If you want to write an automation code, you need to have some ID. That ID here is nothing but I am using with respect to Python, it is PyCharm. So go to here and download community edition. Not professional version is not required, since it is also a paid tool. You need to pay an upfront fee for using this. You will have some more features than community edition, but community edition for practicing is sufficient. Go to here, scroll down and just download this executable file. And similarly, go to this particular website, download that Python as well. When you are installing the Python, after downloading, you need to add path to environmental variables. So this we have already discussed at the time of installation in the first class itself. I hope if you are not able to understand, go through that video and watch that. If you don't have, in the second class we have discussed that. And similarly, we need Selenium WebDriver as well. We can install Selenium WebDriver by using terminal, nothing but cmd command line interface, or by using PyCharm. So in the PyCharm, how we can install, let me show you right now. So what we will do, we will just automate one basic login logout functionality, so that you can understand how this automation helps a lot. You can do that same things by using manually, but you can also do by using automation. So go to PyCharm. Before writing this automation script, go to File, go to Settings, go to Project. In the project, you will find interpreter, Python interpreter. Go to Python interpreter, and I already have Selenium. Let me uninstall this. So you need to install Selenium WebDriver by using project settings. You can also install by using terminal, which I will be discussing whenever I am executing the code by using terminal, but right now it is not required. You can also install that there are a lot of dependencies which you can or you are going to install as a part of a real-time project. Right now, just install in the PyCharm only. In the PyCharm, again I am repeating, go to Files, go to Settings. In the settings, you'll have project, and whatever the project name you have given, in the project name, click on this arrow button, go to Python interpreter. In the interpreter, you will see a plus icon here. Click on that. So what is this is, if I want to install any dependencies, I need to go to interpreter. So upon clicking on this plus button, this pop-up arises, so that I can search my required dependency or a library or a module, anything I can call here. So right now I required Selenium WebDriver. Selenium, search for Selenium. So if you search for Selenium, it automatically highlights this. So install package. So when you click on install package, it will install and it will get this message: a green bordered package in Selenium installed successfully, and close. Click on close, and if you see here in this window, you will see Selenium has been installed. Click on OK. Now, as for this setup or installations, you have Python, PyCharm, as well as Selenium WebDriver also, which we have just installed right now. And what we will do, we will try to automate some test case. What is that test case? Is a basic login and logout functionality. So before going to automate any test case, go to that particular website and navigate manually. Not only the website which you are seeing here, in the website which you are going to automate, the first step is go to that particular website, follow the steps which you mentioned in the test case, and try to perform the actions and close the browser. The same thing you are going to automate by using Selenium Webdriver. Right now, I'm manually navigating to this. If you see here, open the web browser, this is the first test step. In the test case, you will have test steps. So first test step is open the web browser, right? I have my web browser is already opened, like whether it is a Chrome or a Firefox or an Edge, and open this particular URL. Yes, I have already opened, and enter username and the password. Admin is the username, admin123 is the password, right? Click on login button, capture title of the home page. So click on login button. So for this particular home page, this is the home page. I have logged in with the credentials which mentioned here, and after clicking on the login button, the home page has been landed, and thereafter I need to capture the title. So title here, go to developer tools, or in the developer tools you will find inspect. So if you see, I want the title of this particular home page. Right now what I am doing in the inspect tab, how I am opening this, you will not be able to understand. Bear with me some few more classes so that you can understand all. This home page has been successfully landed, and for this home page I need to see what is the title. So for this I am just opening this inspect one. I'm just searching title. So the title for this particular page is Orange HRM is the title. Yes, captured the title. How I captured? I have gone to this inspect tab, and at the very beginning you will find the title. So this title refers to Orange HRM, this particular home page having this particular title. Yes, I have captured the title. Thereafter I need to verify whether the title is this or not. The same which I captured is the same or not. And thereafter, after verifying, I need to close the browser. This is the thing which I am doing manually. The same thing how I can do by using automation. Let me go to PyCharm, create day 16, day 17, and in the day 17, let me create one Python file, login logout.py, nothing but a module, a Python file. So in the Python file, what I'm right now, what I want to do, I need to write an automation script or automation code depicting these steps. So I will be writing the automation code. You will not understand anything, but you need to understand on a high level. So not specific to every single point, just on a high level, just follow what I am writing here. You will not be able to get anything. Don't worry. I will let you know in coming classes. So what I am doing, I'm just importing Selenium from Selenium import Webdriver. So from the Selenium package, you'll have Webdriver module. You just import that. When we are discussing modules and packages, there are two ways of importing a module, or I can say a class or a function. This is the second way, which you have already packaged. In the package, you have this module. So from package name, You just using import statement or the keyword import Selenium WebDriver, which is a module. And from Selenium, in the WebDriver, you will have common dot by import by. So we are just importing the required modules or the functions for performing the automation script. You will not be able to understand, don't worry. And thereafter, for every browser has or have desired capabilities. For every browser will have desired capabilities. So desired capabilities are nothing but capabilities which will make that particular browser, upon giving those options, will perform the things which I required. So there are capabilities for every browser, nothing but desired capabilities. I'm just using those capabilities. I'll be not going into that because it is not required. So what are those capabilities? For every specific browser will have capabilities where they will present. In the WebDriver only they will present. So in the WebDriver, for the Chrome browser, I'm just automating the particular website or an URL in the Chrome browser. So in the WebDriver, I have Chrome options. So these are nothing but desired capabilities. So I'm just assigning this as an to options variable. So in the WebDriver, there are Chrome options. So this whole I'm assigning this to a variable, nothing but n options. So I will pass these particular options for the driver variable. You will get to see in the notepad. So in the options, whenever I am opening the browser in the recent versions, it is automatically closing. In the recent versions, it is automatically closing because it is a feature introduced by the Selenium WebDriver. So when the browser is opened, it should not close automatically. So in order to make that happen, there is experimental option, add experimental option, and you need to specify detach, and thereafter you need to specify true. So what I'm saying, when the browser is opened, Chrome browser is opened, you just keep that browser opened. You are just specifying with this experimental option. So for this, you are just passing detach. So, and you need to pass this particular true value. So this is the syntax which you need to follow. And you need to initialize a driver variable. You need to initialize a driver variable. If you see here, so this driver variable is responsible for interacting with the browser. So you have written the automation code, you need the browser driver, nothing but the driver variable. With the help of the driver variable on the browsers, you can perform any action. So what you need to do? You need to initialize a driver variable. Driver is equal to, in the driver variable, in the WebDriver, you will have Chrome options. These are nothing but desired capabilities, and it is the driver specific to the browser. Right now, I am just doing for Chrome. So what I will do, I will use Chrome. So in the Chrome, and whatever the options or desired capabilities, you just open this Chrome browser with the desired capabilities I'm trying to say. In the WebDriver, you have Chrome options. These are nothing but desired capabilities. So with the help of these desired capabilities, I'm just opening the Chrome browser. Chrome browser has desired capabilities. Those are nothing but Chrome options. So I want my Chrome browser to be opened with the desired capabilities. So for that reason, for the Chrome, I'm having options is equal to, this is the variable or the argument which I want to pass when I am initializing a driver specific to a browser. Right now I am initializing a Chrome browser. So for the Chrome browser, I have positions options argument. Options argument. For this options argument, so when I say options, nothing but desired capabilities. So for the desired capabilities, you already initialized an options variable. So in the options variable, you have specified the capability. So these particular options you need to pass as an argument to this particular Chrome browser. So instead of options, if it is confusing, you can use opt. You can use any variable, not only opt. You can use any variable, opt. So for the options argument, you are passing this opt. So Chrome browser accepts desired capabilities. How it accepts through this options argument. So for this options argument, which you have already specified the desired capabilities, you need to pass that as an argument. That's what you have done here. And here comes the first thing. If you see, you need to open the browser. For anything you need to do on the browser, you need to have driver variable, which you have already initialized. From here, what you need to do? You need to open this particular URL. For opening this particular URL, you will have driver.get. This is a function, or I can say a method, which is there in the Selenium WebDriver. So Selenium WebDriver, for the specific browser, I have initialized the driver variable. So with the help of driver variable, I will do all the things on the browser. So what I am doing, I am just with the help of the driver variable, I am just opening the URL. I need to open this particular URL. So let me pass that as a string to this particular get method. Right now, what I will do, I will try to execute this. Right click, click on run. What it will do, it will try to open the browser, and thereafter it has opened that particular URL, which we have seen whenever we are manually logging. This is the first step of automation. You need to open this particular browser. Very important. And after opening this particular URL, you need to click on the maximize button so that it can maximize. So for this, you will have driver.maximize window. When you say maximize window, upon opening this particular URL, it maximizes the browser window. Let you see, run on, login, logout. Yes, after opening this particular URL, it maximizes the browser window. Good. Next, what you need to do? You need to go to this particular website and you need to enter username and password. So for entering the username and password, first you need to identify these particular elements. This is the first text box. This is the another text box. This is the username text box. This is the password text box. And this is the login button. On the button only you will perform click action, right? So you need to identify these three. This one you need to identify. This particular password text box you need to identify. And thereafter you need to click on the login button. Very important. So how you will identify? There is some specific and separate concept locators. Don't worry, we will discuss in the next class. Right now, I will just identify this in the inspector tab. So go to right click on the web page, click on inspect. You can go by right clicking and clicking on inspect, or click on these three dots, go to more tools, go to developer tools. In the developer tools, it will open this particular window, elements, console, sources, networks. So go to elements, click on this identifier, come here, and you can see this is the HTML code. This is the HTML code. 1 second. This is the HTML code of this particular web page. So in the HTML code, this is the HTML code, part of that HTML code for this particular element. Similarly, for this, This is the HTML code. Similarly, for this button, this is the HTML code. There are specific tags. If this is the text box, you will have input tag. If it is a button, you will have button tag. So these HTML tags only will say whether it is a button or a text box or some another thing. Or if you see here, this is the link actually. If you click on this, it will open another page. So further links, you will have A as a tag. So these are all different tags will be available in the HTML. When we are discussing locators in the next class, you will get to know all of this. Don't worry. Right now, I'm just writing an automation script for just opening and logging and logout. So what I can do here, I can identify this. If you see, for this, I'm just having, for this tag or for this element, I'm having different attributes. Class is one attribute, placeholder, name, and there are different attributes. So right now what I'm doing, I will just copy this particular attribute and I will write some a predefined script which I already have. But you just try to understand how I have written. So what I will do right now, after maximizing, I will just use this implicit weights. Don't worry, all the things will be explained in detail in the upcoming classes. What I am doing, I'm just finding the element which I want to enter the username and the password. Before this, entering the username and password, I need to identify. For identifying, I need to want locator. That locator I specified here. How I have written this locator, you will not understand. Wait for some time. And by using XPath, I have found that element. In that element, I have entered the username. Admin is the username. Similarly, password. And thereafter, I am clicking the login button. Alright, let me execute the code up to now. If you see, it opened this particular URL, entered username and password, clicked on login button. So it entered on or landed on this particular homepage. And I need to see what is its actual title. What is its actual title? We have seen this. After going into this particular or landed into the home page after entering username and password, we have seen how we can capture the title orange HRM. So for capturing the title, we have a method in the Selenium Webdriver. Driver, by using the driver variable only, you need to do all the things. So what you are doing here, you are capturing after opening and clicking the login button. It landed on the home page and you need to capture the title. So for doing anything, for clicking, for opening, you need to have the driver variable. In the Selenium WebDriver, nothing but the driver variable which you initialized with this variable. You have title method. When I say title, it captures current title of the web page, which we have done manually. It automatically captures. This is the method. So this is the actual title. I'm just assigning this to one variable, actual title, and what I am expecting, this is the title which it should be. This is the thing which I am expecting, and I can use conditional statement. If else, if actual title equal to expected title, print title is matched, otherwise title is not matched, and thereafter you just close this. That's what I'm saying. For now, I'm just commenting this for your understanding. Click right click, run, login, logout. It opened the URL, maximized, entered username and password, landed onto this homepage. It automatically captures the title. If you see, title is the orange HRM, so it is equal to the expected title. So that is the reason it has printed this particular statement. Title matched. And if you see, let me give some name, another name. This name, what I am expecting, but this is not present in the particular web page which I am opening. So in that case, it will try to print this particular statement. Let me execute this. Yes, it has landed onto this home page, captured the title, and it is checking whether the title is equal or not. But here the title is not equal. So that is the reason why it printed title not matched. And after opening the browser and performing all the things which I want, At last, I need to close the browser. At last, I need to close the browser. If you see, after opening, after performing all the things, I need to close the browser. So let me execute one more time. After checking the title is matched or not, it will print appropriate response or the thing or the statement, and thereafter it will close the particular browser. Let me execute this. Run, login, logout. Yes, it automatically matched. Not matched, it will check whether they are matching or not. If they are matching, it will print title matched. If it is not matched, it will print title not matched. Here, title is not matched, and if you see, observe, it got automatically closed. These are the previous browsers which I opened. Let me execute one more time. Yes, it got automatically closed. Upon checking the title, it closed. In this way, you can write an automation script. There are a lot of methods which we can use in the Selenium WebDriver, which I will be going to discuss in the coming classes. Thank you.